Hello, I'm Tom Martin, and welcome to another episode of A San Francisco Conservative, the new podcast series featuring yours truly, Tom Martin, longtime journalist. I've worked for ABC News, CNN, CBS News, and so on, covering politics in particular, but also the rise of the stock market and all kinds of things, arts, jazz, as our guest figures in so many of these topics. But the man of the hour, of course, is my good friend David Parker, who joins us now from San Francisco. David is the author of Income and Wealth and a San Francisco Conservative. And I am happy to have another opportunity to talk. Hey, David, how are you today?
Hi, Tom. Nice to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, very well. Always look forward to our conversations. And again, when we record one of these episodes, I hate to kind of lock it in time because people can listen a few weeks, a few months later, certainly. But there is political news to share. We have a new presidential candidate who's entered the race for 2024. Can you guess who that might be?
No, I think Abraham Lincoln is dead, isn't he? We need Abraham Lincoln.
No.
No.
It's Mr. Donald J. Trump from Mar-a-Lago, Florida. Yeah. So
you know what the J stands for?
What's that?
Genius.
He said he told us he's very good with words. I know.
Yeah.
So what do you make of that? I mean, I thought when you and I have spoken before, you've had some very interesting observations about his success in 2020. I remember asking my friends in 2018, 2019, it's like, he can't really possibly win, can he? And so, oh, no, he could never possibly win. And these are journalists I'm talking about. And lo and behold, he was elected. So what are your thoughts about the Trump's rise to power there?
First of all, it's more prepared than people realize. Trump planned to run for president at age 42. And he changed his mind. Said, I'm too young. And he didn't run. And then he was going to run as a Democrat. He was a Democrat his whole life. He's in favor of universal health care. And then he was told, Bill Clinton and Hillary are not going to let you run as a Democrat. He says, okay, I'll run as a Republican. I don't care. It's all the same to me. They ran as a Republican. And then he says, everybody, move over. I'm running, you're out of here. So I like the fact that anybody who can do that and get away with that, he must know something. It's a proof that he knows something. He just told them to go and they left. And then, even though the polls in his first election, 2016, all showed that some polls showed Hillary 90% victory. All polls showed a big majority. Donald Trump himself was in Moscow doing deals with Putin for Trump hotels everywhere in Russia. And he goes, oh, man, I didn't expect to win. This is going to ruin all my hotel deals here. And he figured he was going to lose. And he didn't. And the only reason he lost in 2020 is that he so mishandled the COVID that basically he mishandled the COVID. He didn't show that he cared, and that it looked like he was trying to make money as a president and doing dumb things. But he almost won. Had he been a little bit more normal, he would have won 2020. Yeah. The reason he won in 2016, despite those polls, is that a consensus was arrived in this country, and that consensus still exists, and it's going to shape the election coming up, is that there are a few problems that the whole nation agrees are problems. The high cost of healthcare, it affects everybody. It's 2 or 3 times what it costs anywhere else in the world. Something is wrong. Poorly performing public schools, no question. Silicon Valley, all those important jobs. San Jose Mercury News has declared several times, more than 70% of all Silicon Valley jobs are filled by foreigners. American students are not qualified. They don't learn enough in this country. No one disagrees the public schools are not performing too well. And then the third is I call lax law enforcement. Not just the immigration. I think when Biden became president, he opened up the doors come on in. You don't have to apply. And also homelessness in California and in New York, everywhere. That's a function of lax law enforcement. That's all it is. There's ways to solve problems, but you have to enforce the law. Everyone agrees. So there's a consensus. So people said, I would never vote for Trump. And when it got in the booth, they held their nose and voted for Trump. And that will be, if he wins this election, it'll be for the same reason. People know that neither political party has any intention of solving those three problems that everyone cares about.
Yeah. When you speak about, again, people knowing, the run-of-the-mill politician is not going to bring us any solutions. What do you make of politicians like Donald Trump, disruptors? I think of, you had certainly Governor Arnold Terminator Schwarzenegger there in California. Jesse Ventura, the wrestler, was elected. I heard, if you know, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson was interviewed on television recently. It's like, will you be running for president? He said, I'm not ruling it out. Where do these people do not have, experience in politics. I mean, Donald Trump had hotels and casinos and was a developer. And I mean, what are these the people we need to fix the problems that you just described?
No, because they're not qualified. Every job, what you do, what I do, it takes years of training. Politician is a career, and you pay your dues. You start small, low office, and you work your way up. And you learn how to get two sides to come together in some kind of a compromise. That's what a real politician, that's what they are. They get people to come together and agree who are not agreeing. Lyndon Johnson, for example, was a great politician. What he believed in is something else. That's irrelevant. He was a great politician. He did what John F. Kennedy couldn't do. He got the Congress to pass some civil rights legislation because Kennedy didn't have that political skill, and Johnson did. And he scared him into place, and he passed that. That's a politician. And those two guys, Schwarzenegger and Trump, are not politicians. They don't have the training. They can't do it. The Congress runs rings around them. They veto everything they want to do.
Yeah, I apologize. I have a follow-up question on that. I just wanted to let everyone know, if you're watching or listening to our conversation here, this is the new podcast series, A San Francisco Conservative, featuring author David Parker, author of Income and Wealth and A San Francisco Conservative, the title of his latest book. And I'm Tom Martin, having a chance to ask some thought-provoking questions, I hope. And so what do you make of kind of the polarization in government right now? Seems like it's very hard to get anything done. And you just described so many things, the enormous cost of healthcare and so on. If Donald Trump is elected again, do you think that might be the key?
I'm not sure he's able to pull off the solution. No, and he won't pull off the solution. The solution to healthcare is you remove it from government interference in the market. There is no market for health insurance. Health insurance today is prepaid medical care. That's why it's so expensive. Employers write off the health insurance policies. They want the most expensive they can as a tax write-off. They shouldn't have any right to write off. They shouldn't ask their employees if they have any pre-existing conditions. That's sick. You don't ask an employee. That's none of your employer's business. You buy your own health insurance. We have interstate commerce violation. You can't buy health insurance across state lines. Health insurance in Pennsylvania, I think, is 3 times less than health insurance in New Jersey. And a person from New Jersey cannot buy it. And you can buy a health insurance policy probably in Canada or Mexico for much, much less. Can't do it. So it's government interference. There's no market then. And then Medicare, to be fair, treats you until you die. But the last 6 months of life are the most expensive for some people. It could be $500,000. If you were, if you had your own health insurance policy and it says they're not going to pay for that $500,000, then your own savings, you would give that to your children and your grandchildren. You wouldn't want to spend it for that last 6 months just so you can watch TV for 6 more months. You wouldn't give away $500,000 that you would give to your family. Under Medicare, you're not asking. No one's asking you. No one wants to make a decision that you get that $500,000 for that last 6 months of life, and you, Mr. Homeless person, you don't get that. Just because you're 65, you don't get that because you don't deserve it. Nobody wants to make a decision like that. So everybody gets it. Everybody's getting $500,000 a year for the last 6 months of life. That's an example of how, one example why medical care is so high in this country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I understand. I just
so
want to
you remove that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You almost cancel Medicare and you buy insurance on the market. Before Medicare, the price of health insurance was about $200, the same price as auto insurance or life insurance or property insurance. For $1 million homes, $200 a month. That's what healthcare should be. Today it's $1,200 to $2,400 a month. Unless we cancel Medicare, there's no cure. So Donald Trump is not going to do that. In fact, he was in favor of universal health care when he was a Democrat before he changed. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So we're screwed in so many ways. Right? All our problems are not going to be solved.
Yeah. Okay. I want to shift gears a little bit. Speaking of whether our problems will be solved or the scale of our problems. A lot of the candidates running, certainly the Democratic candidates running, said, look at the Trump administration and just look what happened to the U.S. Capitol on January 6th last year. Violent insurrection, no respect for law and order. And, if Trump comes back into office, we may have more of the same. And a lot of people say the right wing, conservatives and so on, they lack compassion. We were just talking about homelessness and so on. Do you think that's true? I mean, you call yourself a San Francisco conservative.
Conservatives, as well as liberals, have compassion. We're all human beings. Conservative says government shouldn't be solving these problems, and liberals say yes, government should be solving these problems. That's the difference. It all goes back to 1933 when we jumped from the founding fathers' vision to Franklin Roosevelt's vision, or the progressives' vision. Founding fathers, freedom meant freedom from government. They knew what government was in Europe and everywhere else in the world, and people coming to this country didn't want it. They wanted opportunity and freedom. In 1933, we changed that. It's freedom with government. Government can be a force for good. And we can't get out of that. And that's what the split is in this country. If I say we should get rid of Medicare, get rid of Social Security, get rid of all the governmental agencies, people go, no, we're not going to do that. It's never going to happen. So we're going to have this split forever. And we're not going to solve any problems forever.
Yeah.
We made that jump. And some people are saying, well, let's get a catastrophe in office to shake it up. Donald Trump was a catastrophe. If only he knew he was a catastrophe. He doesn't know he's the catastrophe. He thinks he's a legitimate person. But if he knew, maybe he could do something, and maybe some person will step forward who will say, I'm a moderate. The nation is moderate. The nation is not split left and right extreme, where if you have 51 votes, you get to change the whole scope and nation vision for the country. That can't be. One vote changes the whole direction of the country, when in fact, that should never come to being. The country is in the middle, is more or less moderate. The government doesn't represent the country. And it's all about that 1933 split. Can we undo it? And some people think we should, but not enough. And then when you tell people what it means, cancel Social Security, cancel Medicare, cancel everything. Oh no, we're stuck.
Yeah.
The rich don't care, by the way.
Well, when government has obviously an impact on our lives in many different ways. And when you say the government doesn't really reflect, well, I'm not sure if I'm quoting you correctly, to say the government doesn't really reflect the people, or the people are ready for a change and that kind of thing, my thoughts would go to the Supreme Court. So during the Trump administration, he was able to nominate and have approved 3 extreme right-wing justices. And certainly a big topic in recent months during the midterm election was women's right to choose and, to make decisions over their own bodies, consulting with their doctors. Are we in for more of that? I mean, again, we're not talking, legislation, but we're talking one of the 3 branches of government, obviously, that has a big impact on our lives.
The future is probably the Republican Party, not the immediate future. The Democratic Party is on its way out. Workers, blue-collar workers, are becoming Republican. That is who elected Trump. And the Latin vote is going Republican. George Bush ran for governor of Texas and won twice in a row, defeating a very popular moderate person, Marge Richards, saying to Latins, you're a conservative people, and you're even patriotic. And the left is kind of bashing patriotic people a little bit. So the left is not where you belong. And he campaigned in fluent Spanish, and he got the vote. And that's the future. The Democratic Party is going to be a minority party, sort of a conscience for the nation, to remain compassionate. But the Supreme Court, the Senate, and the House, and the President, within the next 20 to 30 years, will all be Republican. The Democratic Party is over as a major force. But we're going through the transition right now. And the Democratic Party is going to bounce back, how economy does, it goes up and down, but the general direction is up for an economy. Standard of living is constantly rising, but with recessions. So when you have a Democrat in office, consider that a recession in the general direction of the politics. Yeah. January 6th will become a national holiday, probably. Joke.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. Yeah. Anyway, well, on that note, I think we're out of time for this conversation. But I certainly want to remind all of our viewers, all of our listeners, to be sure to pick up copies of David's books, Income and Wealth, and a San Francisco Conservative. You can do that by visiting his website, davidparkeressays.com, or by going to amazon.com. So, David, any final words you'd like to share?
All my books, and my 3rd book about to come out, Selected Writings, are rich in material, are rich in historical example. It's not current events. They're not journalism. Everything we're discussing today and everything it's discussed in politics, all the issues of the day, are timeless. And I give examples of how they were handled in the past. So it's very interesting to read.
Absolutely. Great books. I highly recommend them. Be sure to pick them up. So thanks for joining us, David. Look forward to the next time.
Sure. I'll be back.
Thank you.